Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban here.
So, busy week. I actually took a few days off, had a nice Memorial Day weekend out in the desert. It was great. And you, sir, are busy. That's why, again, you'll be here in person again soon. But why are you so busy these days, Alan? What do you have to tell us?
I'm trying to keep my beach body on, Karyn. I see you out there in the desert taking selfies in your chair, getting a good angle. I'm over here trying to get my body together, too. Aside from that, I fight in a little organization called the UFC. You may have heard of it. Yeah. And after the retreat, I told you I had a good talk with Sean Shelby. Right. Looks like we worked out a fight for me finally. I'm waiting on the contract, so it's not official, but I saw it kind of leaked out somewhat. So I'm taking that as good news. That means that the UFC is moving forward with it, and I'm going to be getting a contract soon. Right. But, yeah, I'll be fighting July 8th. July 8th in Vegas, UFC 213 against not Chris Camozzi.
It's his brother.
Brian Camozzi.
Yes.
I can't remember his name. Brian Camozzi.
Yes.
I knew it's a Camozzi.
Yes.
You know why I'm confused, though? So I'm fighting Brian Camozzi July 8th, but I just saw a picture somebody posted on Instagram or something, and they messed up. They put a picture of Chris Camozzi against me.
Right.
And they put one Camozzi, they're all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah, so anyway, they kind of confused me there. But, yeah, I'm excited. I'm just happy I got to fight. Like I said, I was willing to fight anyone. I just wanted to fight as soon as possible. July 8th was a good date. I liked it. It's Vegas International Fight Week. It's a big pay-per-view card. I'm going to go there. I'm going to rock it.
It's going to be great. Now, it's awesome because if he's anything like his brother Chris, Chris is a good striker. Chris is a guy that obviously has a lot of heart. He's been in the UFC a long time. Then he was away. Then he earned his way back. Chris is a guy who's always down to fight. If his brother has anything like that kind of a fighting spirit, I would imagine you guys are going to put on a good scrap.
I'm hoping so. I agree with what you said. I think that his brother seemed like a guy that's, this is his second fight in the UFC, and this is my 10th fight in the UFC, and he didn't hesitate to take the fight with me from what I heard. So I like it, and hey, if he wants to put on a fight of the night performance with me, 50 G's all day, baby.
It's awesome, and I'll be in Vegas for that one. I'm working, the Fox test for that, so I always love it. And it's funny because folks don't know this, but, Alan has been, crazy itchy to fight. It's funny because just being around you, you can tell, you're amped up, you're ready to rock, and especially, obviously taking on Gunnar was such a big deal, but I definitely feel like, you took it like a man, but you're a little frustrated there, and you're, ready to get in there and get cracking again.
Ready to get back on that victory path. It's like you're only as good as your last fight. And if you lost your last fight, you walk around with your head down a little bit. I'm ready to get that victory, knock somebody out, have that feeling going into the fight that follows. So just ready to get in there and show people what I can do again.
Awesome. Can't wait for that. Great news. Great news. Well, we do want to talk about a few things today. So I want to get your take on Alexander Gustafsson. We'll look ahead a little bit to 212 as well. But Alexander Gustafsson, like I said, I was on break basically. I kind of, I didn't want to deal with too much of my email and all that stuff, but I was like, there's kind of no way I'm not watching Alexander and Glover go at it. So, I was poolside. We were poolside on the phone. Oh, nice. Watching, which is always hilarious, too, because people have no idea what you're watching, and we're sitting there watching oh, damn, and all this stuff. Just, out in the middle by the pool. But I thought it was awesome. I thought, I'm such an Alexander fan and Glover. But, when you see Gus in there and you see those two in there, you're like, man, it's been a while since we've seen Alexander. You remember how good he is. You remember how, he obviously had a great fight with John. But I'm just really happy to see him back. Thought that was a great performance by Gus.
Yeah, I thought that it could have been one of his standout performances in his career. I think it's probably the best we've ever seen him look. Granted, when he fought John Jones, he was fighting, arguably the GOAT, and he hung in there. And that's the fight that kind of brought him to stardom. That's the fight that made Alexander Gustafsson known for how good he is, how much heart he has, that he could hang in there with anybody. This fight was, I want to say, his best. Not a flawless victory, but for 5 rounds, he controlled the pace. He won every single round. And not only to win 4 rounds, going into the 5th round, he could have just sat back, could have taken his foot off the gas, could have just idled his way to victory. But no, he went and finished the fight. And a highlight reel walk-away finish. That triple uppercut, slid out, finished it with hook right hand. It was flawless. And I remember thinking, Karyn, the beginning of the fight, I saw him bouncing around, and he was kind of using his footwork. And it was kind of like, okay, he's happy to be back in there.
Right.
The crowd is there. It's got his energy up, his adrenaline. But he's not going to be able to keep this pace the whole fight.
Right.
He did, though.
Totally
he did. He kept – he stayed. I remember the 5th round started. I think they gave each other like a little hug or something.
Right.
And right away, he went back to his footwork. He never slowed down. He stuck with the jab, start with his footwork, never let himself get into a bad angle. And I was highly impressed by Gustafsson.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about Glover is, too, though, even when Glover's down, you can't count him out. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that, even if Alexander is doing so well and winning everything, like, he has to keep his wits about him, because all it takes is one counterpunch from Glover to Teixeira, and fight's over. So I like that he, stayed focused, didn't lose focus. I also love that, Glover is that kind of guy, like, he never gave up either. You know what I mean? You've seen in some fights when people know they're down in the cards and this and that. Obviously, he knew he needed a knockout to win eventually if it was going to go that way. But you never got the feeling that that Glover, gave up, or that he wasn't in there still trying to do everything. And that's why he's such a beloved fighter. Like, Glover is just one of those guys that, you really feel like is a fighter for the right reason. I'm such a fan of his. But I was really happy to see Gus come back the way. That's the guy. That's the guy that I think should fight, John or DC next. I know there was talk of Jimmy Manawa maybe getting in there, but Alexander, I believe, has got to be the next guy.
Yeah, Alexander, after that performance, man, I mean, you saw, like, even Dana White was, like, tweeting stuff the next day. He was tweeting, like, the highlights and saying, like, did you, like, you could tell that everybody kind of had a, like, let's talk at the water cooler the next morning about how good Gustafsson looked. And also with that fight, I saw a lot of people talking about, like, the how he was running, avoiding damage. There was some parts of the fight when he would get his back against the cage, he kind of would run around. And there was a little bit of discussion online. I didn't really get involved with it, about saying that, he ran too much and this and that. But I want to defend him on that one. He did a lot like Conor McGregor did against Nate Diaz in the second one. He didn't want to be against the cage where Diaz was strong, and so obviously Gustafsson didn't want to be against the cage where Glover was strong. I don't mind somebody kind of running to get a better angle, as long as they re-engage afterward. If you're running and just not engaging, then you're running. But if you find yourself trapped in a corner and you want to take 4 or 5 quick steps out to get back into the middle of the octagon, and then you go back to doing what you're doing, I don't have a problem with it, as long as you re-engage. That being the key word, re-engage after. Show that you still want to fight. You're just trying to better your angle. But a lot of people didn't see it that way. A lot of people kind of frowned upon the way that he was sliding off the cage.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's a reset. It's not a runaway. It's a reset. It's like, let me get back. If I can control the action where I want the action to be. So I don't think of him. I mean, plus, it's Alexander Gustafsson. Like, the dude doesn't run away. Like, hey, have you seen? You know what I mean? He put it on John Jones. So yeah, I don't see it as a runaway either. But I know what you're saying. People, if they don't like, if their guy's losing, basically the other guy's running and the other guy's a chicken. But I think of it as a reset. And we all know, Gus did a lot of work at Alliance in the past. We know that that's home to Dominic Cruz. That's home to Erick Del Fierro, the coach. Footwork is a really, really important thing to them. You can definitely see when people come out of Alliance, when they've gone there for a little while, and sometimes you'll see their improvements because they learned some footwork. So to me, Alexander is just doing what comes naturally to him and is the right thing. So yeah, come on. I don't think Gus runs away from much.
I know it wasn't you, but it was something that rang a bell. I remember after the fight seeing a lot of people talking about that discussion, and I didn't really find it a discussion. He ran around, got back in the center, and began attacking again. So to me, that's irrelevant.
Question to you, Alan. Do you think he was going to propose win or lose? Obviously, he went into it afterwards, proposing. They just had a baby not too long ago, all this, but I'm thinking to myself, do you do that if you lost? Also, probably not, right? Because he might not have necessarily gotten the mic, although I guess he would have because it was a Sweden thing. But that's my whole thing, and I'm always like, was it either or was it only if he won?
I thought about the same thing, Karyn. You have to put yourself in that position, You have the ring. You're going to give the ring to a corner man. You're going to tell him, after the fight, I may or may not propose, so be on standby. If you lost, would he have still proposed? That's interesting, To me, the biggest thing was, why put that much pressure on yourself? You know what I mean? you're headlining an event back home in your home country. Everyone's there to see you. You got all this buzz. And then you add to it and say, you know what? I'm going to buy this ring. I'm going to have to think about a speech or what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You're just adding more fuel to it. He shines under the bright lights. He did so. Right. And I will say, I'm not really a huge fan of, like, proposing in the octagon. I'm not against it. Yeah. But it's not my taste. I'm, you know, like, I'd rather be somewhere romantic or something. Yeah. But if you're going to do it, I liked his better than any other guys. Yeah. I think Benson Henderson did it one time. And a couple other guys I've seen do it, but his was more genuine or something. There was something more about it that was kind of touching in a way. So I was happy for them.
Yeah, I obviously he was probably still going to propose to her, but just maybe wasn't going to do it in the octagon if he had lost. But I agree. You know, there is something to be said for actually, I forget if it was something I was reading one time, and they were talking about the different kind of proposals that people do, and there's the ones that are like out in public, or there's the ones that involve somebody's whole family, then there's the one-on-one thing and this and that, and it just does, like you said, speak to different kinds of personalities. You know, granted, I think he knew there was a great investment there since they already have a child together, but that's dicey if you're not that sure to do something that public. I mean, obviously, Alexander, I think, was pretty confident. I even tweeted out after. I was like, okay, so he's the father of your sweet little baby. He just had that amazing performance, and he's a great guy. So I'm pretty sure not many women would have said no in that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's risky. But I agree with you. There's something about him that it was so sincere and sweet. Like I was cool with it, but in general, I'm not a big fan of the octagon.
You know what I think it was too, and just to clarify something, I said it was more genuine. I didn't mean it was more genuine than Vincent Henderson's or whatever. Right. Obviously, I think what it was though was the timing. When Vincent Henderson and other guys did it, like as soon as they got the microphone, I think he was like, "Hold on, I got to see about a girl or something."
Right.
And there was a lot of stuff that we wanted to know. We wanted to talk about the fight or find out something. So he went and did his proposal, and then right after that, whoever was interviewing him, Joe Rogan or whatever, was like, "Okay, so back to the fight."
Right.
And it kind of blew off the proposal.
Right.
Where in this one, Gustafsson kind of did his interview, got that out of the way, did his proposal, and then Dan Hardy was brilliant by like saying, you know, the Gustafssons or whatever. You know, he didn't go back to the fight and kind of smash that. So I think that's why it was the better proposal. Next time on UFC Now, there might be a question: How many UFC fighters has proposed to their fiancés or their girlfriends inside of the
That's right. That's a good question. It's a good question. Well, hopefully they'll have him in Anaheim sitting there octagon side for 214. Yeah. You know, and the thing that's interesting too is he and Jimmy Manoa, you know, are actually training partners now and very good friends. They had fought before Alexander beat him, but they are close friends now. And Jimmy told me, hey, I don't ever want to fight Alexander. You know, I mean, I guess it was that whole unless it's a title fight thing or whatever. So hopefully they don't try to make those two square off for a #1 contender thing. As much as I think Jimmy is doing well and has some positive momentum, I feel like you can't deny Alexander Gustafsson the title shot at this point.
And you know what, man? Hopefully it doesn't cause any conflict amongst them, because these are two guys that train each other. And they're friends, but we don't know how deep their friendship lies. And both of them have the same goal, and they're in literally the same spot. They're both like the #1, 2 guy.
Right.
So both of them are lobbying for that next shot right now. You just said it before. They already had his teammate at the last one when DC fought.
Right.
Now if they have Gustafsson at this one in Anaheim, it's going to be like, whoa. You know, what are you trying to steal my thunder here for? So might break them up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, earlier, before those two, obviously, there was another big light heavyweight fight, and it was Volkan Oezdemir versus Misha Cirkunov. And this is funny because, you know, we're sort of talking about this division, and a lot of people think light heavyweight is the most open. I kind of think I have to agree with that. Like, I don't think you have to go too far down to, you know, there's a few contenders, and then, you know, it's pretty open. I feel like you could still make your mark in there. There's some veterans in there, guys like Shogun. You got guys that are, you know, a little bit older now and maybe don't have as many fights left in them, maybe trying to make one good push. Then you have the newer blood, like Oezdemir and Cirkunov. And Cirkunov re-signed with the UFC, and he's going to be this big prospect, but Volkan put him out in the first round. I think a lot of people were surprised by that, just because there was more mojo, more positive vibes, I feel like, on Cirkunov as this next great prospect.
I was shocked by it, and I can't pronounce either one of these guys' names to save my life, but the guy that got put out, he had been killing in the octagon. He's been looking great. Putting guys away. I think this is the same guy that Daniel Cormier was saying this guy's going to be a big threat as well.
For sure.
In
For
the division. So a lot of people were recognizing it and giving him credit. And to get put away in like 45 seconds of the fight like that was just shocking. I get it. It was kind of a behind-the-ear punch, or kind of probably threw his equilibrium off. But nonetheless, like, you don't see John Jones or Daniel Cormier getting their lights put out in 45 seconds, you know. Right. So that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt him a lot. I think he's still got a very bright future. But you get knocked out in under a minute by, you know, not a huge name, you're going to be pushed down the ladder quite a ways.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because Volkan has a win over OSP. I actually think OSP took it. I believe it was a split decision win. But I remember in the moment watching that fight, I was like, I'm pretty sure OSP did it. Like, that fight was a little frustrating to me because I wanted Vince to push the action a little bit more, and it was one of those things where OSP was fighting the newcomer Volkan Oezdemir, and maybe he didn't get as excited about the fight because it's a who's this guy type thing, and Volkan came in and surprised him. But I actually think that OSP edged out the win in that one. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, Cirkunov was one of those guys, he was kind of released from the UFC for a hot minute, and everybody was losing their mind. How can you let this guy go? And then he comes in, and I'm sure he really wanted to probably make a statement and get that win. But it went to Oezdemir. So, you know, it's interesting. I like seeing this new blood. You got to have to learn how to pronounce these names, yo. Because now they're the future, you know what I mean? You're not going to have to say some of those names for too much longer. I mean, even for that
I
matter,
need you in my ear.
Yeah, we don't know how much longer DC will fight. We don't know, you know, there's some guys that, you know, are probably getting closer to the end than the beginning. So you got to learn those European names.
Why can't we just need to give them all DC type names?
Right,
DC,
right.
KB. I'm good with that all day.
Yeah. I just, you know, some of these names, I seriously, the thing is too, when you're at work, like, and you're reading these things and you'll switch from like a Volkan Oezdemir, and then he'll be fighting somebody Brazilian, and your brain's like, wait, like,
slow
does
down.
not compute. Speaking of Brazilians, obviously UFC 212 this weekend. So I'm just like, this fight, this main event, Jose Aldo and Max Holloway, it's like, it's nobody can lose in this fight, right? Nobody can lose. They're two amazing fighters. I do feel, though, it's going to be very difficult to beat Jose Aldo at home in Rio. Max has a skill set that could do it, but I don't know if he's going to be able to pull that off.
Right. This is one of the few fights, Karyn, that I think I'm going to go against, kind of against my heart. I don't know if it's my heart or my gut. But what I'm getting at is I'm going against Jose Aldo. I'm kind of leaning towards Max Holloway. He kind of won me over. You know, the thing about Max Holloway is there's guys in the gym. I have a buddy at Black House named Tommy Aaron, and he does this to me all the time. He's a 45er, same weight class.
Yep.
He's a smaller weight class. I should be able to run over him. But he's a guy that doesn't necessarily throw the traditional 1-2, 1-2-3 reset. Base, you know, like get his base under him. He's constantly throwing. He doesn't get tired, and he's just constantly throwing stuff. A lot like Max Holloway. Max Holloway is always moving, doesn't seem to get tired.
Yep.
He doesn't really have to load up or reset on the shots as long as he's pop, not letting you breathe, not letting you set. And so he does well against these fighters that need to set.
Right.
Here's in case. Jose Aldo. Right. He's a guy that is fantastic. One of my favorite strikers because he's so efficient with his striking. His leg kicks are super fast.
Right.
His striking is so pinpoint. He's got power. But he needs to set to get those things off. Pardon me 1 second.
Here you are. Come back. Come on back. That's Jose Aldo. That's the Brazilian gods right there, yo. They were like, wait, what?
Let's see.
There you are.
That's my wife calling in. But so I think I think it's going to be a matchup of the amount of strikes that Max Holloway is throwing and how he's in Jose's face compared to the speed and precision of Jose Aldo. And I'm just seeing what Max Holloway was able to do against the former champion.
Oh, wait, Frankie? Cub? Pettis, right, okay.
Yeah. Cub, too.
Actually,
seeing what he's able to do against great strikers like Anthony Pettis and Cub Swanson, I'm just going to lean in the favor of his awkward style. I don't say his awkward style, but his high amount of strike style against the efficient striking of Jose Aldo. I'm going to go with Max Holloway on this one. I could be wrong.
No, I mean, if you're, you could be right. You know, you could be right. Yeah. I feel like I'm going to play a little bit of a I feel like with Anthony Pettis fighting at 45, that was really hard for him to make that weight. I feel like that had a lot to do with why his performances were spotty at 45. You know, it just was too much for him to make that weight, and obviously after he lost to Max, decided to go back up to 55. So I think that's a factor. Not to take anything away from Max. Max is amazing, and the win streak that Max has and the names that Max has beaten, the guy is an absolute phenomenon. And the crazy, scary thing is he's only 25. So like that's the thing. Like Max has been already killing it for a few years, and you know, maybe who knows when he's going to actually reach his potential. The guy's amazing already. So at 45, I feel like, at 25 years old, I feel like he obviously has a lot of promise and could become the champion. That being said, Jose Aldo, and we've talked about this with Kenny, we talked about this with anybody who's ever fought him. You've prepared yourself for the kicks. You know the kicks are coming. You're ready for the kicks, and then the kicks land, and then your whole brain is like, what the was that? You know what I mean? So yeah. As much as you can prepare for that, I feel like that is such it's an unknown. It's an unknown. You don't know how you're really going to react to those. I feel like, obviously, Frankie Edgar and Max Holloway, two very different body types. But the fact that Frankie got like nothing off against Jose at 200, Jose was so technical and so precise and so measured and just didn't allow anything to happen. I feel like he might be like that with Max. But Max is going to be pressuring him a lot. I feel like also just the factor of Jose Aldo, Brazilian legend, in Brazil. I feel like he's going to be hard to beat at home. Like Max is going to have to like literally light him up, because a decision against Jose Aldo in Brazil is probably not going to happen. Yeah.
Hey, I agree with you. The Jose Aldo that beat Frankie Edgar is a hard Jose Aldo to beat. But the momentum that Max Holloway is on right now, he's another guard guy. It's a pick'em.
It is actually.
I'm just thinking that maybe the reason Max Holloway is having so much success is because of the quantity of strikes. He throws you off, he throws your timing off, and not able to set your feet and do what you want to do, apply that power like you like to, because he's so much in your face. And if he's able to do that against Jose, it could throw off his confidence and his timing.
We shall see. It's gonna be bananas. Like I can't wait. And honestly, like you want to pick one or the other, but like I said, nobody loses in that situation. Nobody loses. Yeah. Either one of those guys, I think. Obviously, we know Jose is a great champion, but either one of those guys would be fantastic. And by the way, Max, as I mentioned, was in LA last week. So on MMAHeat.com or on our Facebook page, or whatever, we have the whole luncheon with Max. And by the way, also I talked to him about the whole Magana Cyborg situation. And long story short, he thought Magana should have seen that punch coming.
Yeah, well, she didn't, obviously.
Talk blank, get hit. You know how it goes.
But, she got hit in the mouth. And, man, speaking of her, I mean, you talked about Alliance earlier.
Yeah.
I see now that she's not even welcomed at Alliance anymore. She, man, I kind of feel for her, although a lot of people don't feel for her at this moment. Like, a lot of people are turning on her right now. Her gym turned on her. The MMA community is kind of taken Cyborg's back in this one because the general public doesn't know these two women personally.
Right.
You know, we see stuff on TV. None of them, not many people know them personally.
Yeah.
It's just the fight credibility is what people are taking their decisions on, and they know that Cyborg is arguably the baddest woman on the planet Earth. And Magana is kind of somebody who likes to stir the pot, and because of those, and she doesn't have a great winning record.
Right.
So because of those reasons, people are backing Cyborg, and I feel like Magana's kind of putting herself in a deeper hole.
Yeah, she is. Well, and it is tough. I mean, obviously, Cyborg is a much more valuable property for the UFC at this moment. Magana is still young in her fight career, and she, who knows, she could become something really great. But like you said, right now, her record doesn't really speak to somebody having a lot of authority to be talking smack, because people just go, well, what are you? You haven't done anything. I will say that, it's tough to lose your gym in this kind of thing, but at the same time, if they in that gym, as you know, obviously your gyms are a tight-knit family, and if somebody doesn't feel comfortable and feels that her actions, basically, I think what Brandon Vera was basically saying was like, the actions of calling the police and suing and all this stuff just doesn't speak to the kind of person he wanted to be around, and it was more about a character flaw that he saw. So I don't know. It's tough though, because Angela, even when she was on The Ultimate Fighter, a lot of people thought she was kind of a bully, or she's created an image which may end up working against her because of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it is tough. It's a tough situation. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out. Everybody has an opinion on it, though. That's for sure. Your opinion quickly, sir, because I know you have to go soon. What's your opinion on Gadelha versus Kowalkiewicz? Obviously, we know both of these women have fought Joanna. Both of them have lost to Joanna. Claudia had 2 chances at it. Claudia was really quite successful in the early rounds against Joanna by taking her down. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, not that kind of a fighter. I personally have to give the edge to Claudia in this one.
I'm going to agree with you. Yeah. I think although Gadelha is in a new camp for the first time, you know, she's oddly 100%. Enough, she's fighting in Brazil, but she's training at a new camp by Jackson Winklejohn, going back to Brazil. Although she's at a new camp, she's really, from what I saw on the countdown show, she's enjoying the more one-on-one time. Everything is about her. So everything is precisely what she needs to get the confidence to do well in this fight. It didn't seem like they're changing too much of her style, more just giving her the attention that she maybe desired but wasn't getting in Brazil. So with her already proven track record, I think she's going to go in there, get the takedowns, grind it out. She's a tough girl. She's a strong girl. And I think she'll get to decision win in this one.
Yeah, we know Karolina beat Rose to get to this point. And, you know, whoever wins this fight, it is tough to talk about who gets the next shot at Joanna because, like we said, both those women have already fought Joanna. It'd be really hard for Claudia to get the 3rd chance. A lot of people think Rose might be next since she's coming off that victory. So I don't know. It's tough. I really like watching this division. I think the strawweights are really exciting. But Karolina has an uphill battle taking on somebody as well-rounded. You know, Claudia is just really good, man. That is, like you said, a tough woman. Tough woman. One other fight on there. I mean, I'm working in the studio this week. Actually, this weekend's going to be kind of bananas in the studio because Cub is going to be in the studio with us. Cub Swanson will be there. We got Rashad Evans, and I believe it's Bisbing as well. So it's going to be raucous, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I know Dominic is going down to call the fights with John Anik and Brian Stan. So, like, it's kind of a big deal. So really looking forward to it. But one of the fights I'm actually psyched about is Yancy Medeiros versus Erick Silva. And you said you and Yancy almost got to mix it up yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Those are both guys that I thought I might be fighting at one point. And when I was looking for a fight a couple weeks ago, I was still just kind of like begging the UFC for a fight. And I was kind of like, who's available right now? And somehow somebody threw me Yancy's name. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. He moved up from 55. He's at 70 now. I remember he was always a kind of a guy. You told me he was kind of like a Diaz.
Yeah, he hangs with the Diaz boys and also with Max and stuff. He's Hawaiian too, and he's just a good dude.
I knew he was like a fighter type guy because he's from Hawaii, so I figured this guy will bang.
Yeah.
So I hit him up on Twitter, you know, and sure enough, he got back to me. He was like, man, I already got a fight here in Brazil, but I'm going to take care of business, and then I'm down to meet you in July. Nice. So I was like, that's cool, man. Like, handle your business. Good luck. Yeah. And let's meet in July. Obviously, I didn't have intentions on waiting for this fight to finish before I got a fight secured. Right. But I like the way that he rolls with that, and we'll probably meet someday in the future. As far as the fight, though, man, the biggest question in my mind is which Erick Silva are we going to see? Are we going to see the guy that was going to be the next Anderson Silva, or the guy that sometimes goes out there and just doesn't seem to have the motivation or the right technique that night?
Yeah, it's actually kind of frustrating with Erick Silva because, like you said, he had so much promise and all this stuff put on him, and obviously that can be hard to live up to if you're told you're the next great thing. But he has been spotty with his performances, and a lot of people also think, you know, that he couldn't go deep. And I forget which fight it was that he actually went into some of the later rounds, and people were amazed and saying, "Hey, this is a victory in and of itself," because a lot of time he would gas out early on. He was one of those guys that's really incredibly dangerous for the first 3 minutes, and if you could weather that storm, a lot of people figured that's how you can beat Erick Silva. So, you know, he had beaten Kozchek, then he had lost a couple, then he's winning again. But, you know, it's tough. I hope the exciting Erick Silva shows up, because if the right Erick Silva shows up against a Yancy Medeiros who's a scrapper, then that's a great fight. I mean, like, that's a great fight to kick it off. I don't know. It's going to be hard. Like you said, I don't know which one shows up. I feel like in Brazil, the right Erick Silva should show up, but you never know.
Never know. But it'll be exciting. It'll be an exciting fight for sure.
Absolutely. So like I said, I'll be in the studio working on that one. So we have a weigh-in show on Friday and the fights on Saturday. It's good. It's good stuff. So Alan, now that you're in fight camp, you get mean, you get serious, right? You get...
No more Mr. Nice Guy here. I'm the angry Alan now. No more joking. No, I'm good. You know, I'm flipping the switch, but but I'm flipping the switch, but I'm able to kind of enjoy myself for a while. I'm still got like 5 or 6 weeks away. Hey, wife. That's my wife.
There goes the missus. Nice. So where can people follow you in terms of social media leading up to this? Because I know you always post like great videos when you're with your strength and conditioning guys. You always post great stuff from Saxon, from Black House, obviously. So where can people find you?
I know I've been staying busy on the social media.
Yeah, you have. It's good.
It comes and it goes. The excitement about social media. But yeah, check me out, guys. Nothing has changed at Alan Jouban. Pretty much across the board and everything, so give me a follow.
Nice. Karyn Bryant on Twitter, Karyn Bryant on YouTube. Obviously, we have MMA Heat on YouTube, Facebook, MMAHeat.com. Also, my friend Evie Rodriguez and I did a Trocasao just the other day. So for all of you who speak Portuguese, we talk about Aldo and Claudia's fights and some more news on Cyborg and all that. So that is in Portuguese. You guys can check out Trocasao you can find it on my Karyn Bryant channel there on YouTube. So anyway, and then Alan, we just did some UFC nows. It's good stuff. I have UFC tonight and also Tough Talk. This week's fight is good. I already watched The Ultimate Fighter. Some good stuff. It's interesting too. There's a good fight, and then as it starts to go ahead to the next couple weeks, like it's going to get really, really, really interesting, and I think really good. So people should, if you're not already watching,
I'm interested to see the fight on Wednesday. Yeah,
right.
What's his name coming back for the first
time?
Joe
Daddy Stevenson and Justin
Joe Daddy,
Edwards.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see him back in the cage. So.
Yep. Awesome, Alan. All right, well, I know you're a family man and a hard worker and a coach and a teacher and all that. So get out of here, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.